I find hard pressed to do one thing at a time.
Okay. Right, I think we're now streaming live on.
Not yet. Not
No,
yet.
we're not.
Well, thanks, Evan. I wouldn't want that going out.
Lost my screen as well now. I can't get hold of anyone. I've just tried David Rushton as well, but phones are just ringing out.
Terry's just coming in.
Terry's coming in.
Oh, good. That's probably why I couldn't get through, but that's all right. Then I'll cut off because I was trying to get hold of David as well.
There you go. So you're Cora now, Chair. So I'm going to turn that video off and just listen for when you finish.
Right. I'm just trying to see how I get back to the Zoom bit because I've been.
You're on it. We can see you.
Oh yeah, we can see you.
I can't.
We can see you. We can hear you.
That's fine. Then I can only see one person at a time, but that's fine.
Oh, you're on screen view, so you already see the person that's speaking.
Yeah, normally you can see them all though, can't you?
On gallery view.
Yeah, gallery view.
Chair, can I remind you are on YouTube now?
Yes, and I'm aware of that.
Okay, that's fine.
If we could start the meeting, please.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. Hi, Terry. Hi, David.
Hi.
Hi, Chairman. My son helped me get logged in.
Yeah, we delayed the start a little bit, David. So sorry we were delayed letting you in because we didn't feel that we would be quorate, and we had to ensure that we had enough parish council. Obviously, Terry had a little bit of technical difficulty, so sorry you were out in the cold.
That's all right.
Item 1: apologies and declarations of interest, please. Any apologies received, Anita?
Yeah, apologies from John Padwell.
Yeah, hopefully he's feeling better soon. Thank you. And any declarations of interest? Okay, thank you. Right, public session. So again, we've kind of resolved, unless it's particularly to do with this application, we'll probably not be inviting general public session. David, is there anything, because you are the member of the public and you've asked to join, is there anything you'd like to raise?
Hello, no, there isn't, thank you.
Right, okay, thank you very much. In that case, we'll move straight to item 3, the main business for the night, which is the single planning application for vehicle access and hard standing at 1 Grafton Road, Geddington. Right, Claire, I'll just hand over to yourself briefly just to introduce it. I think Anita sent the details out, I believe, over a week ago. So hopefully everybody's had time to have a look and digest. Seems very straightforward. Let's say that. Claire, over to you.
Yes, right. So this is for permission to put vehicle access in. Now it's for number 1 Grafton Road, but actually the access point is along Wood Street.
Wood Street.
And they would like to put in, well, it's a 2-3 metre wide gates, providing parking for 1 car for 1 Grafton Road and 2 parking spaces for the owners of the property who live at 12 West Street. They want to be able to access the garden area of number 1 Grafton Road and use it as an allotment and parking. So probably we'll start. I don't know if I can share my screen. I'm going to try it anyway. I don't know. Can you all see it?
Coming by the looks of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Got it now, Claire.
Okay. Right. So you can see the area that they're referring to. It's just here, and this shows on here where they'd like to put the double gates. Let's try a different one. So it's not very clear, but this is the area. There's number 1. That is the site, although it looks on it, it makes this site look much larger. It's only half of this sort of site here. This is the gate they propose, and by the look, it's 1.8 meters high. I've been made aware that actually the wall surrounding it is quite high as well. 1.5 meters, the surrounding wall, which is where they want to access from. Okay, let's go on to, yes, this gives you this is the hard standing area where they're going to use for parking. So you can see it's very close to the school here. It is in the conservation area, but it's not a listed wall. Or
What is that construction behind the two houses?
here?
Yeah,
It's an
Well-
outbuilding.
Oh, yeah.
It's a brick outbuilding.
it's just a brick outbuilding. It's not a garage or anything like that.
No.
I mean, I must admit, I do meet my immediate interest is this a prelude to an application for a planning permission for a house there? Once the entrance is established and the allotment is available.
Yeah. Well, that's something to think about, isn't it? Somehow, because that they want to keep the two areas separate, it does feel like they're trying to separate two plots of land.
Mm.
I mean, they say, you know, they're not, but that's how I come to think of it, actually. If you're having wide enough gates for two cars to get in next to each other, then that's creating a separate driveway for this area of land here.
Yeah.
I think to be fair to the applicant, we have to kind of consider the application as it has been presented to us. And he's saying, look, it's for purpose A, purpose B, and purpose C. He's not saying that he wishes to develop it. That's to be fair to him. There are obviously probably quite a lot of other questions and queries, and I suppose, but we're only human. And at the same time, one thing I did notice was the difference between, there'd be two sets of gates. One would be single into the one Grafton Road area, but then a double into the smaller rear part. So I understand, David, why you would raise that.
Yeah. I'm also concerned if the gates are higher than the wall, it'll look horrific. I mean, that's a traditional stone wall.
There is an artist mock-up, isn't there?
Yeah, let's have a look at it, because
Yeah,
this
can we have a look?
I think it's, yeah, I think that shows probably a little bit of a.
Okay,
you
so
just had the document then, didn't you?
yeah, this is showing, this is a bit more detail here.
I don't think we can. I don't think we can see it, Claire.
That's the map.
We've got the aerial view.
Oh, hang on.
Whereas you did just have it, because we just saw it. It was a PowerPoint.
I told you I'm not very good on this.
If you get really stuck, Claire, I've got it downloaded, but obviously I prefer to be able to keep an eye on everybody. So
it's tab 3, isn't it?
that's the gate details. I think you've got the.
I've lost it now.
You've got
gone.
Yeah, this is all PDFs, Claire. You did just have it. It's actually a PowerPoint presentation, so it was a different type of program. You did just have it because I saw the applicant's notes. So you perhaps have to just reduce that or be presenting something else. But I'm look, if I need to, I'll try and present mine, but it just will slow us down slightly.
I had closed it by accident, so
That's all right. Right, there you go. That's the document. And it's a little bit further down. I think there's some more useful photos, including a depiction. There you go.
Yes, this is a depiction. I don't really. I'm not really sure how useful that is. Let's try and enlarge it.
I was saying, if that's what it's really going to look like, I would be strongly against it. It is absolutely totally out of keeping.
It looks here like there's just
hideous.
having to set them back. I don't know whether that's exactly. There's a bit more detail further down the page.
In the plan, that's I think on the bottom slide, what the applicant's trying to show is that his gates, I think, are depressed backwards because he needs to put, or he feels or he's been advised to put splay lines. There you go, those visibility splays in. So I believe, though again, that depiction doesn't really show it, that the gates are probably, yes, they're probably further back, where the 2-3 meter things are, and that way you've got those splays outward.
Is he going is he also asking for a ramp across the pavement?
Not mentioned anything.
And how's
about
it gonna be
I don't know.
It would be a highways requirement that if they were to grant that, they would then separately have to apply for a drop curb.
Yeah.
I think
You
he
can't drive
mentions
across
that. I think he mentions a shared drop curb. I think it's there.
That's it, double width.
Double width.
Yeah, so that is 10 meters across.
Yeah, just to pick
Sorry,
up on that.
where's the second gate?
I was going to say, just to pick up on that,
Do that.
there's two gates that are the same. It's the the right hand of those two areas where Claire's cursor is now.
Yeah.
That's a double width parking area, but it's still the same width entrance for the one Grafton Road and for the subdivided area of land. So although it's got parking,
this is one area. There's two parking areas.
That's it. But so the gates, it's two pairs of double gates.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, here the wall is here, isn't it? So I'm assuming, although I'm not sure whether what is going to be infill, whether they're going to carry the wall on.
Where's the other entrance gate going to be?
They're next to each other, David.
No, sorry, I thought there was one for number 1 Grafton Road.
Yeah,
there
there is.
Yeah.
That's that.
That's the number 1. That's the car parking space they get, and this is for the other part of the site.
So the applicant at the moment has put a fence from that central point between those two gates. That's it. From there, straight down between the two standing areas. That's where the fence is.
Well, I assume so, but I'm not sure what this is.
That's
Is that,
yeah.
is that wall or is it?
I can only.
Obviously, the wall doesn't curve around that way.
Good point. Yeah. Would the visibility display be constructed in stone or in timber? That's the question. Yeah.
I don't remember seeing anything about that.
No, I don't. I don't. It did mention it had required, the design would require the visibility displays, but it didn't show how they would be constructed, where they would be using for example, some of the wall that they would be pulling down there to rebuild those visibility displays either side of the gates.
Would the middle of the gates be in stone?
Well, let me just see if it tells us. The proposed opening is triangular. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that's the pavement area he's talking about that they park on.
Ah.
Yeah. It's. I mean, again, look.
Really say anything.
I think that is a depiction. It's not an accurate. I think we have to be fair.
No.
That's not an accurate. That's an image of a gate and something then superimposed a second time. I don't think it's going to look like that.
But we still need to know.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. There's a couple of things. Okay, anything else you want to call out, Claire?
Well, I just want to say that we're talking about a sort of 10 meters of wall being removed from that section right by the school, very busy pathway. People do park on that path at the minute and they shouldn't, and they say that on here he proposes that will solve that problem, but I don't think it will.
Well, let's address that. So the applicant does say that. He would be right if he says that there'd be no need for the owner or tenant rather of 1 Grafton Road to park there anymore. He would be right in saying that. However, it will just get filled up straight away by somebody else parking there.
But also 1 car parking space for that house. I mean, most families require 2. So I'd say they'll park there anyway.
Yeah. I mean, and again, the applicant does say that this is actually going to take some problems away. So let's just talk about that. He says it's going to take some problems away. It's going to give some parking to on Grafton Road, so they don't have to park on the corner. It's indisputable it does give parking there, but as we've just said, is that really going to stop parking on that very attractive corner? People shouldn't park there. It's wrong, and he's right in his application to say that it blocks, you know, every user, not just wheelchairs and pushchairs. However, it's just going to fill up, and I say that from a considerable experience of stood outside that school. He also says that he clearly needs more parking for his own residents, and that would give parking on Grafton Road on the other bit as well, and also a garden, some amenity that he doesn't have. So again, does anybody have any view on that?
Yeah.
So who said yes? I can't.
Yes.
Oh, Terry.
Yeah. That's a double-edged sword, because if he has the gates there and people do park on that corner, of course, then when the gates are there, then they'll either be parking in front of the gates and blocking him in, or they won't be able to park in front of the gates, in which case some of that area which is now used for improper parking won't be available. So the cars that would have been in front of the gates will have to go somewhere else. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, except I don't, to my knowledge, there's hardly ever been a car parked actually in front of where those gates are destined, Terry. I can see. The cars are normally they're normally much further down. I mean, there were two contractors' cars parked on there the other day because they were doing works in the garden itself. But it is rare, but it has happened. You will see it, but I don't think they would be blocked. I think the chances that they would be blocked are the same as anybody else who has a drop curb and a gate into the.
Remind me, Chairman, they're double yellow lines down there, aren't they?
They are double yellow lines.
Yeah.
That's what makes the parking that is taking place on the pavement.
Yeah.
It's wrong because they're parking on a pavement. They're crossing a curb to park onto a pavement because it's not a drop curb. And they're passing double yellow lines to park. So it's wrong for three reasons.
Yeah.
But the point that Nick has just made is that they have done it. It hasn't been enforced. And I share the thought that it's unlikely that practice would stop simply because there's two gateways a little bit further down towards the school.
I'm sure we're going to talk about the elephant in the room very shortly, which is the school. And I can only just give my personal experience of, well, I worked it out today during a lucid moment. I must have stood outside there 1,000 times since I moved to the village at school drop off and pick up. So I know a little bit about it. And if that was empty, somebody will park there. Done. It is wrong. I wish we could get this enforced, maybe with the new authority. We can, and some of the plans we've heard about, we should get that, try and be much stronger around that. But it's just going to fill up again. Okay.
I see it as largely irrelevant to the planning application. It is mentioned in the planning application, but I would discount it. Therefore, the problem of cars parking on that corner is a very in itself a contentious issue, but I don't see it's a planning issue for this application.
What about the distance from the junction? So the applicant said, look, it's 15 meters from the junction, and it's 25 meters from the junction to the zigzag. So with presumably again, with or without that plan, if the whole splay is pretty much 10 meters wide, the splay by that rationale, despite the depiction, must actually start at the zigzag. So it's straight out and on and on the end of the zigzag.
Yes,
yeah. 25 meters. So it's taken it quite close. I mean, we're sort of trying to guess where it might be, but look, it's actually on this edge here. It's goes right out here.
As the applicant did say on that list of features that was on the screen before, it is by his measurements 25 meters from the road junction to the zigzags. He would be putting the drop curb or the entrance 15 meters from the junction. Therefore, since it's 10 meters wide, it would be, as Nick said, it would be coincident with the start of the zigzags.
Yes.
The other end of the other side of the driveway.
Yeah. So moving this on, and again, anyone's got their hand up, and I do apologise, I can't quite see. What I did expect to see, but didn't, is actually a depiction of some form of turning circle, or some at least description of how a vehicle gets in and manoeuvres into both of those demises. Because at the moment, I can't. We've seen some. There are some quite blocky plans which are helpful, but they don't seem to answer that concern I've got, which is once a car is in, how does it get out again? Unless, Peter, you've seen something.
Well,
but it reverses like most
yes,
houses.
It is in. So the details do answer the question, because they've taken advice. Sorry, Claire.
Is this the one you want to look at?
No, all right, then I would like to go back to that aerial shot in a moment. But
Okay.
but what's been said is that the length of the driveway would be 5 meters. On that list of features that was there. That's it. Just there. Just not the last one, the penultimate one. Drive areas to be less than 5 meters in length, as per advice from KBC, planning to of hard standing with eco-type drainage. So the drive area, which is the area within the hard standing he's talking about, would be 5 meters long. Therefore, there wouldn't be space to do a 3-point turn. It would be that the vehicles enter. If they drive in, they've got to reverse out, and vice versa.
Or reverse in, but yes, there's no natural. Well, we can't see it, but it is strongly implied there's no turning if the driveway is only 5 meters long.
Exactly.
If that's the case, then the height of the wall and the height of the gates does mean that you're going to have less visibility.
Well, he has said that the gates open inwards, and then there's the 2 by 2 meter visibility display.
Yeah. But if the wall's already, what is it, 1.5 meters high?
I think it's 1.5 meters at its lowest point, and then it gets taller as it.
It's taller as it goes towards Grafton Road, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is a place where we have lots of children. It is something to think about.
Just very briefly, if I may, if you could go back to that aerial view that's in this same document. No, the one that's in the same document.
Sorry.
That's okay. That in itself does show that those 2 vehicles that park on the pavement would still be able to park on the pavement, because they are there within that view, and they're nowhere near where the driveway would be for these two accesses. So it does emphasise the fact that it's not an issue that can be seen as supporting or against the planning application. So anyway, I just wanted to go back because that particularly illustrated the point we've been talking about.
Okay. Let's talk about school time. Unless does somebody want to lead on that? I'm happy to and give my thoughts and observations.
I think you're in a unique position because you've been down there 1,000 times.
Yeah, and that wasn't to show off. It was just to illustrate that. I guess the photographs we've seen show it when it's not school time, which, to be fair, is for the vast majority of the week. But there is twice a day, 5 days a week. There are hundreds of people outside there, and I just want to make sure councillors are aware, if they're not, how things are different now, and probably for the foreseeable future. School time doesn't start and end at 2 times anymore. It starts at 7 different times, or no, 5 or 6 different times, and ends at 5 or 6 different times. It's spaced out because of COVID. As a result, and also the instructions or the advice of the school is for parents and children to stay well spaced and away. They're not to go into the car park as everyone used to. They are to stay outside the school grounds. They are to wait their turn and to literally spread out. So at a school time, not for 5 or 10 minutes anymore, but for a good 30 minutes at the start and end of the day, that whole area looks like Piccadilly Circus. And there are already a couple of driveways. There's a jitty which come out, and people necessarily avoid those. Well, perhaps sometimes they even don't, because there's just so many people, and they need to socially distance. And I don't think any of us necessarily see that things will ever go back, and certainly the head teacher doesn't. Now, some of those parents necessarily have to cross the road. They stand in the road, the children are there. And I want you to picture, of course, that we have children who aren't just 11 and sensible. Some are aged 4 and 5 and 6 and don't have any sense of road safety. Now, outside the cottage opposite as we see the yellow stripe, there are 2 parking spaces. Those cars are normally there. What that would mean for starters is that any car egressing out of the 2 gates would have significant difficulty getting up Wood Street without basically doing a diagonal straight across the road and almost cutting across those yellow zigzags for a start. The wall on the, say, if you look at the apex of the yellow square, the wall tends in then towards the school. The applicant's splay line will meet it, or probably just be in from there. But I examined that today very carefully, and probably a third of the children at that school could run around that corner, and with the most careful driver in the world facing outward into Wood Street would miss them and would be forgiven for missing them. Now, there are many jitties, many nooks and crannies. There are many slightly blind exits and entrances in our village. Some, unfortunately, have probably been built, in the last 10, 20 years, but I suppose we have to look at today. But this one proposed is right next to where 220 children and adults congregate twice a day, run around, wearing masks, glasses steamed up, a little bit stressed, dogs are there. And for me, having stood there and watched and observed since I became aware of this application, I wouldn't want to be the applicant who puts this in, because I think there is a significant risk to children, a significant one. There's no turning circle depicted. That's why I asked that question. That would at least give some solace to us or to residents that any vehicle who does go nose in can come nose out, but there isn't one of those. In the text at the end, the applicant's been very helpful, and I'm, he's obviously sought to illustrate how it would confer him some advantages. It would help, parking on the roads. He wouldn't have to park his vehicle or One Grafton Road. So I was pleased to see that, but what I was disappointed to read or not read was the word child or children in the whole of that application. And if you're going to put in a triple-sized driveway next to a school, cutting across a large piece of pavement, and to not even mention child or children, let alone assess the risk, for me, I can't understand why anybody would think that would be successful. Unless I've missed an assessment somewhere, assessing that risk and assessing that danger, and placating the consultees of this. And from now, looking at the behaviours and where people have to stand from now on, I must say that, I'd like to help the applicant. We want to get more cars off. We want people to do with their properties what they like. It's just too dangerous. There's no assessment. And from watching children run around that wall, this is an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah.
But that's just my personal view as a councillor, not as the chair.
I would agree with you, Chairman. But the issue, to my mind, is the height of that wall. I just think it's totally unacceptable. The wall is going to be higher than the car that is trying to back out. So even with the visibility display, they're not going to see what's coming down the road.
Well, that's what Nick's saying as well, isn't it? The children there, they won't be visible.
I mean, I might be a bit more amenable if the wall was half the height, but it's not.
And also, I'll say as well, from the conservation area point of view, do we want to see that amount of wall gone from that area in place of gates. And actually, when I was having a look at details about Geddington, they were sort of implying that the Geddington is made up of little walls enclosing houses, and that was a feature of Geddington. It would be a shame, actually.
Yes, thanks, Claire. Sorry, Terry, were you eager to come in?
Yeah, well, I mean, we presumably all read the letter that's been submitted by one of the residents, who sets out 7 points there of comment or objection. And I have to say that I agree with all of them, but following up the point that Claire's just made, it is commented that the walls are of local stone construction, both matching the boundary walls and the buildings, and they are a consistent element in the old part of Geddington and were identified as important features in the conservation area report. And, you know, quite apart from the danger of the children aspect, having gates of that nature and that extent in that wall is going to be very detrimental, I think, to the appearance of that part of the village.
Thank you, Terry. Peter, do you have any more views?
Yeah, I've looked at this application and actually teased out a number of the aspects of it, some of which I find quite a lot of sympathy with. So in other words, if we first of all look at that particular view that's on the screen there, if we could look at the aspect or the implication of its distance to the junction, it is greater than 10 meters, so it meets that requirement. Just opposite to it and slightly left is Churchgate, so there's an access there for vehicles, which is considerably closer to the junction. So in other words, that there are other areas that have that issue. Diagonally opposite is also Lyons Yard, the address of the one of the residents who has made a submission, and that has actually a similar scenario. The vehicles do have to drive in and reverse out. If it's got 2 vehicles in there, there's not the room to do extensive turns. There is the difference, though, that from exiting Churchgate and exiting Lyons Yard, the opposite side of the road is protected by double yellow lines. So therefore, there's no vehicles that are going to be parked on there. Exiting these 2 driveways, the opposite side of the road does have those 2 parking bays. So it does mean that there is a likelihood of vehicles in front of the person who's exiting these 2 areas. That is quite common. There are a lot of areas within Geddington where a driveway has vehicles that can be parked on the opposite side of the road. So in other words, on that aspect, also have a degree of support for the application. So there are a lot of things that I see that are not ideal, but are not uncommon within the village.
What do you feel about demolition of the wall, Peter?
Well, I was just going to come to that. I'm going to say that the 2 aspects where I have reservations about it are, okay, I'll take that one since I think it was Terry there that was sort of flagging it to me. There is the removal of a wall in a conservation area. And obviously, further down to the left, Priory Court itself was created with the removal of a very large area of wall. Obviously, that was done some time ago. So there are precedents for removing areas of wall. So again, that I would not see that as necessarily although it would not be ideal. I would not see it necessarily as the definitive reason for objecting to this. But my
Priory Court was developed probably 70 years ago.
I think it's a little bit more recent than that, but however,
my first wife used to live in Priory Court, and she is now 70. So and she lived there, so it's at least 50 years.
Anyway, let's not dwell too much on that. I was then going to come to my reason why I do have a significant objection to this, and that is the unique nature of these two exits, or these two driveway entrance exits, being so close to the zigzag area that protects the school, the pavement around the school, and the very proximity to the school itself. And I think that the safety issues that Nick talked about there are very significant in this particular application. So in other words, if the school was not there and there wasn't the issue of school children in this area, I would be minded to support this application, even recognising the less than ideal situation on a number of the points. However, the safety issues, I think, are paramount in this, and that's my view.
Does anybody else have anything to say? Okay, so it seems that there are two main areas of concern. One is the conservation element and the wall, the height and the amount of wall that would be removed. By the looks of it, some 10 meters be removed from this wall in a conservation area. And the second is the safety issues, given its specific location. And again, I think I echo Peter that I think almost anywhere else or in a different location, or if the school was not in that location, this would be a different conversation. There'd still be some concerns, cars parked opposite when you're coming out, but the whole thing is magnified by children, hundreds of them. So, and that seems to be it. Other than that, I mean, the application appears to comply. You know, we're not highways agency, they will look at that, but it appears to comply. There's clearly an effort been made to illustrate and to show that it is away from that junction. Does anybody, oh, sorry, Claire, were you about to say
Just
something?
about to add that we don't really know, we haven't been told what the visibility displays are built out of yet either, or there must be a pillar between the gates. We don't know what that is. What's that built out of? How would that look?
We don't know if it's remaining wall, as you say, or
there's not that information for us, which is a shame. But I think that's quite important.
Okay. Any more?
I think that would be something that, were we to go forward with an objection, it would be, we could put the rider in that. However, if the planning authority was minded to approve it, we would strongly suggest that the visibility displays were constructed in the matching stone. So in other words, there is an opportunity of saying if we were to be voting against it, there is still the opportunity of saying, however, if it were to go ahead, we would suggest these requirements.
Okay. That sounds sensible.
I think that's something they'd impose in any case, if they were minded to grant it.
Does anyone like to suggest a proposal, make a proposal? Nobody?
Well, I'm reluctant because I don't live in the village.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, I'll do it then. Again, just taking the mood. I propose we do not support the application on two grounds. Firstly, the impact on the conservation area of the removal of such a large section of wall and the building of the two gates. And secondly, the risk to the children and attendees at the primary school next door by the vehicles entering and exiting with no visible turning circle, compounded by the vehicles parked opposite, which restrict how those vehicles can come out of that, both of those demises. But I'm also happy to propose that to state that if the planning, if we're reminded to approve it, that we would like to see the visibility displays in the same stone or reusing those materials of the wall. Okay. Mark has just mentioned that. Yeah. Okay. Right. So, well, that's. I think hopefully I've kind of captured what I think is the mood, and the findings. That's the proposal. Would anybody like to second that proposal at all?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Thank you, David. That's the proposal seconded. All those in favour of that we don't support this application for the reasons given. Okay. I think that's 5 there, Anita. Thank you. Against and abstain. Yeah, obviously Mark's playing no part in the meeting. Okay. Thank you very much, councillors, for that and for your attendance. And that's it on that particular application. So in that case, we'll move quickly to item 4, any other business.
Chairman, will the Newton, Peter was suggesting there's a deadline date on the Newton application, but will that come to the next parish council meeting?
I'm not aware of that. Claire, Newton application?
I've had a quick look at it. I thought came up, it was for the 12th as well.
Yes. There's 2 due on the 12th, isn't there, where comments have to come back.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean,
so you're right to have a look at that.
I don't know what everybody thinks. I don't particularly want to ask Anita to be working till midnight oil on the day we have the next meeting. Anita, would it be better if you could just ask for a couple of days grace for those 2 applications where comments are due back on the 12th, which is the day of our meeting?
Yeah, I was prepared to do it after the meeting, but it would give a little bit more leeway. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of you, but yes, I think we should get more in the habit of of making a reasonable request rather than relying on any or all of us continuing to do these late nights. Okay. So thanks, Anita. So David, yeah, it sounds like we will, but Anita's kindly offered to try and get that in, but we'll just be able to discuss those at the next meeting. Okay. Anything else? Great. Everybody, again, thanks for your attendance tonight. Another month, another extraordinary meeting. So thank you very much for putting the time in and the effort to review the documents. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And great. And we'll meet again on the 12th of April. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Claire.